Thank you. Okay, great. The time being 5:04 p.m., I'll go ahead and call the meeting of Monday, January 9th of the Braintree School Building Committee to order. We'll go ahead and start with a roll call. Mr. Auvel is not able to join us this evening. Neither is Mr. Devon. Chairwoman Fiskieger.
Here.
Councillor Hume's not able to join us. Neither is the mayor. Superintendent Lee.
Here.
Mr. Spellman.
Here.
Ms. Sichello. Great, and I'm here. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here this evening. First item on the agenda is consideration of approval of the minutes from December 5th, 2022. Everybody should have received a copy of the minutes in their packet and had an opportunity to review. Any comment or discussion on the minutes? Okay. It's been a motion to accept the minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Chairwoman Fiskieger. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you, everybody. Moving on to South Middle School, we have Doug Murray with us here from Hill this evening. Doug, I will turn it over to you for an update.
Thank you very much. After the meeting notes is our dashboard. We're moving right along out there. Masonry veneer installation is ongoing. Almost the upper level of the building is almost complete, and they'll then be moving to the gymnasium area. Temporary heating and enclosures are pretty much done, and the window frames and glazing are going in, and we continue to do MEP rough within the building, and as well as drywall and painting have actually begun on the second floor of the main building. Basically, all the work is going to continue for the next month until we report again, with all the same sort of things going on and moving down into the gymnasium and locker room area, and that work will be ongoing over the next few months as well. Current issues, I think as we talked last time, the big issue still remains the switchgear delivery. The main panel is still on schedule for April 24th to be shipped from, I believe it is South Carolina. We are still, the emergency switchboard is still planned for being shipped in June, which would put it here in early July. So those are the considerations that we still have. The two panels that we are looking at for delivery in July, late July, we are looking at refeeding those from other locations, partially feeding the stuff we need to either commission the building and or anything that's necessary for security or the fire alarm, that sort of thing. We're looking at temporary feeding those, if we can't do it permanently, temporary feeding those from other locations. And then, after everything's passed and the panels are in, refeeding them back to those panels. All that wiring would be there initially. It would just be a matter of disconnecting one and connecting it to another. Coordination, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. We have begun commissioning meetings. Those are monthly right now. We will be starting those probably on a bi-weekly basis come March or April. The exterior wall systems testing has been ongoing. We've tested the window units. Everything has passed so far. We have 2 more left to do. And then FF&E procurement, as we went over last time, is proceeding. All the purchase orders went out. And I'll address IT procurement at the end. In terms of schedule, we got a schedule update today. Everything seems to be going on schedule except for the switchgear, as I mentioned, and the building substantial completion. We're still looking at the end of July for that work, which would put it in time with the exterior work at that point. And we are still talking about furnishing the building in July with some sort of arrangement with the fire department to allow for us to stock the building with either a fire watch or the systems run off main power, which they will be anyways, and that just, in the emergency situation, what we would have to do. Turnip financing, we are still on budget. The budget on the left-hand side at the bottom We've used about $1.3 million between FF&E and construction approved changes, including a change order that I'm going to present in a few minutes. And in anticipated costs, we're looking at about another $300,000 of costs that we're aware of right now between certain things that have to be purchased and credits that we're still expecting to get back. The next item is the change order, which we'll be asking for approval of the commitment tonight. And change order number 6 in an amount of $183,791. The big changes in this, included in this one, is existing building repairs. And what that entails was the, when we took the temporary classrooms off the back of the building, there were a couple of items, just damage that was concealed under the existing building that had to be repaired. The roof of the elevator, there was a wall that needed to be repaired. A door needed to be installed, which had not been planned, to access a ramp, which had not been planned because we thought that they could just use the stair to get out of that space. However, after consulting with the code consultant, it was felt that we were taking away a ramp, and so we would be making the building less accessible. So in order to comply with MM8B, we've decided to add the ramp back in. So that's $83,000 approximately. And then the other big ticket item on that was the expedite the switchgear, which we discussed last month for about $55,000. And then the others, you know, as we spoke last month, there are miscellaneous changes that need to be made as we go along, and for coordination, adding drywall, or in this case, we added some roof drains on for 71A to take out some areas where there were some pitching issues, and some steel revisions to and metal panel attachments for wall panels and support brick that had been missed in the design documents. So we'd be looking for that approval of that change order in that amount. The next page back after that is the invoice listing, which is our standards, the Bacon change order at the top, and then invoices from MDS, Hill International, and Bacon, application for payment number 12, and a total of $4.8 million, or $4,801,519.48 for invoices for this month. And all of those costs, other than the change order, were covered in previously approved commitments. And then the invoices backup is there. After that, if there's any questions, I think if you look on the this sheet, that's Bacon's thing. We are now billing at approximately 62% of the project completed. So we're more than halfway.
Does anybody have any questions for Doug? No, I'm just curious, Doug, thinking about the removal of the temporary classrooms, do you know if when the original design work was done, I mean, because we knew those classrooms were going to have to be removed, right? That's always been part of the design discussion. Was there discussion about the long-term accessibility of that space? Should we have anticipated the need for these costs earlier than now in the design work and in the
we should probably, based on what we've learned now, yes, we obviously should have probably considered it at that time, but no one, including, you know, during all the code reviews and design reviews, no one ever assumed that taking because you were removing the classrooms that were there, and you were essentially restoring the building back to its original condition, that you would need that ramp. It was the interpretation, you know, once we got into it, that you had a ramp, you better put a ramp back in. And then it also, you know, relates to the use of the building, that you're going to have to keep maintaining that building for a period of time.
Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, so given that the dollar amount exceeds the $100,000 threshold, we would be looking for a motion to approve change order number 6 in the amount of $183,791. It's been a motion made by Superintendent Lee. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chairwoman Fitzgerald. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, that is unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. And the last item up for discussion tonight is technology equipment. We are moving into procurement, which will be occurring over the next month. So we will be coming back next month for approval of the outstanding or the new change orders, or I'm sorry, the new purchase orders for the IT. And it's on the last 3 or 4 pages. Could go through the systems as if you want. However, the first 2 items, A and B, have already been purchased, which we did in September. We asked you for approval of those. That was the HubTech pricing. That's on page 3 and $307,000. We're now looking for the other items, which I want to point out that the telephone system, item F, $80,000, that is in order to comply, stay within the whole school system. So it is a proprietary item. We will not be putting that out to bid. That will be going out through the procurement of, and I guess they told me it does not need to be, there's no need to vote for it to be proprietary because it's something that's already established. So we will not be, that telephone system will be going out to that vendor. And then looking at the other vendors, which will be going out, we're looking at a total project with contingency of $28,000 would be at $982, which would put us slightly over the $960,000 state reimbursement allotment that's included in the PFA. But seeing what we saw in the HubTech, we think we're going to be, our bid should be within that $960,000 range.
Does anybody have any questions about the technology? No? Okay. Any other questions for Doug on South before we move on? This is the time for the shameless plug. We've got the December drone footage. It looks absolutely spectacular. It's shared up on the school's site and will go up on the town's Facebook page shortly. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the latest footage of the progress being made over there, I encourage everybody to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next on our agenda, we have an update on our accelerated repair program participation for Hollis and Flaherty, and we have Mike Ulickney with us from PSA 360. Thank you. Hello.
So I'm just handing out copies of the design narrative, plans, and updated schedule,
Thank you. So copies of these were included in everybody's packets, with
including the specifications.
including the specifications, which to the tune of 500 additional pages per packet, we decided to leave electronic.
And save a few trees. So we are on schedule. We are a little over 2 weeks out from setting out the RFQ. So after the meeting, we can talk about documentation on front-end stuff and ultimately the contract that we'll be issuing to the general contractor, the roofing contractor acting as prime. I just wanted to touch on a few things for Hollis. If you look at the page, let's see, 4th page in on the back is the grant summary of the 60% estimate. You'll notice that we have the minimum ADA upgrades to meet the MAB requirements. The estimate is a little bit high. So out of an abundance of caution, we've been thinking about adding roof section G on the plan to the bid deduct alternate list. Just, I don't think we'll hit it, but just to stay safe and make sure that we're on budget for the bid. For Flaherty, I'll ask Talam Maloshi from BWA to come up and speak on this a little bit more. He had another engineering walk that we organized in the beginning of December, where we found additional ADA and code requirements that needed to be added to the scope, roughly $440,000 worth. and he can walk you through those findings. That's it for me. We're currently working through the final CDCs, and at the end of the month is when we're going out to advertise. So, Tom, if you'd like to talk about the site walk.
A lot. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Hello. So during the schematic design process, we went on site and determined all of the accessibility upgrades for both holes and Flaherty. And for Flaherty, at the 60% DD level, we saw that there were some changes in the scope of work, and during the QA/QC process, we determined that for all of the classrooms, all of the exits to the grade level from each classroom had to be accessible to the grade to comply with the MAB. And we determined that during the 60% design development. So we went out there and we looked at all of the conditions of the existing on-grade exit doors, and except for one that was in the addition that was made later on, all of the others needed to be complying with the accessibility code, and we had to add concrete ramps to make that compliant. And that added like $440,000, which we believe that even though it's a significant cost associated with this work, it will provide for safer classrooms. So we think it's worth pursuing that additional work. So that was the biggest change between the schematic design and 60% for Flaherty. In terms of Hollis, we didn't see any change. Basically, it's the same.
Estimates what the cost of the ADA improvements was going to be, what we had anticipated prior. Do you have that number?
I don't have the number here. Maybe Mike can help me with that.
For Hollis? Oh, for Flaherty, I think it was 306.
Yeah.
Around 300,000.
Around 3,000.
So now we're looking for around 750,000 potentially total.
Right, so it would be the...
You just need to speak to the microphone just so that BCAM can capture
so
it.
it would be those original ADA improvements that we flagged, and then plus this additional. Yeah,
So for Flaherty, the new estimate, the 60% DD level estimate is $3,880,000 and $525. So the estimate is $440,000 more than the SD level.
Thank you. Certainly.
Do these ramps, is it one long ramp or is it a ramp for every single classroom?
Individual ramps for each classroom.
And what's the run on the
The
length of the
run,
ramp?
what was the run?
Right, so how long is the ramp?
It's about 10 feet or so, 10 to
Every
12
classroom?
feet. So the difference was like 10 to 12 inches, so I would say 10 to 12 feet for each individual ramp.
Running horizontal to the building or perpendicular?
It's going parallel to the building.
Okay.
All of them parallel to the building.
Thank you.
Does anybody else? Oh.
Would MSBA anticipate
No.
this additional cost of the ADA accessibility?
I have to get back to you on that, of the totality of how much they're going to cover on that, the extra 440.
I don't believe that the MSBA covers costs related to accessibility compliance, so
Right. Is
that
there
would
anything
fall
that
to the
isn't
town to fund.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? No? Okay. Thank you very
All right,
much. So
thank you.
next meeting sounds like we'll be making some big choices on Hollis and Flaherty, right? We'll be looking at bids.
Yeah, the advertisement would go out.
Just make sure you use the microphone so that Bill doesn't get mad at me from the back.
Yeah, the advertisement would go out at the end of January. And right now in our schedule that you see there, it's, we have tentatively scheduled a bid walkthrough for both on the 8th of February. So it would probably hit the central register on the 2nd.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, great. And looking out into the audience, we have Sarah Kaufman with us this evening. Hello. We've got Principal McDonald. Nice to see you. I thought we had Principal Rainey here, but maybe I missed him. And then we have Brian Pace with us from MDS and David Billings also from Hill International with us this evening. Thank you everybody for coming. Unless anybody has community questions, which certainly you are all free to raise, we'll move on to scheduling a date for our next meeting. So looking at mid-February, we're looking at maybe Monday, February 13th. If that works for everybody. Great. So why don't we stick with the February 13th at 5 o'clock here in Cahill Auditorium so that we can stream the meeting. 5 p.m. Okay, great. And before adjourning, just want to thank Bill Needham and Jerry Comack from BCAM for filming and broadcasting for us tonight and every other meeting held here in Cahill Auditorium. Hope everybody enjoyed the holidays and had a wonderful new year. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Been a motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Great. Thank you very much, everybody. Good night.